This is B2B Marketing Methods. I'm your host, Terri Hoffman, and I'm the CEO of Marketing Refresh. Let's face it, embracing digital marketing is daunting. This podcast was created to make it more approachable. Join us as we talk to CEOs, sales leaders, and revenue growth experts who will share lessons learned and tips from their own journeys. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to B2B Marketing Methods. Today, I'm very excited about our guest. I'm going to introduce him in a second, but I first want to tell you a little bit about his background. So our guest today is James Reid. James has been in a whole variety of sales and business development leadership roles for companies that specialize in tools and hardware and other supplies for the construction industry. So he has been all over the country. He has probably been beat up and beat down by just about everybody who purchases construction equipment across the country. And the main reason I was really curious to have him on today and very excited about it is I want to talk to him about the things that we're going to cover and what we're going to talk about are challenges in kind of blending sales and marketing together, how those two areas can work together. We're going to talk about how salespeople use CRM, which, is about as exciting as watching paint dry, but very necessary and a very important part of the forecasting and revenue projection function. We're going to talk about some of his background in the Army, which I think is probably from my perspective, has a huge tie to his success in the business world. And so we're going to cover those topics and probably a whole lot more than I can't even anticipate, because that's what it's like to talk to James Reid. You never totally know where that conversation is going, and that's what's fun. So James, welcome to B2B Marketing Methods. I'm really, really pleased you could take some time to talk with me today.
Thanks for having me, Terri. I'm pumped to be here. I've been looking forward to it.
Okay, good. I know you're all hooked up with all the technology.
I know.
We're all set. You're looking sharp today.
Using headphones.
Oh my God, this will be awesome. Okay.
This could be awesome.
Well, the first thing I want to do before we dive into topics is just help our audience get to know you a little bit better. I think one of the most intriguing parts about your background starts really before your professional career in the business world started. So I'm going to take us back here. Talk to me about your career in the military. And because I know you personally, I know your career in the military actually started way back at probably age 13 or 14.
13. That's right. 13.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us about your background. Tell us how you kind of took that path and what led you there.
Yeah. I was in 8th grade and I had this dream that I was going to be an Army general at one point in my life. So I told my parents at age 13 that I wanted to go to military high school. And I think they about fell out of their chairs. Because what 13-year-old kid goes to their parents and says, I want to go to military high school? No kid says that. So they were obviously open to the idea. One of my grandfathers had gone to this military high school in Central Virginia. So we went and toured the school. I loved it. Fell in love with it immediately. Spent 4 years going to military high school. And I loved it, which is probably not the typical case. And then I went to the Virginia Military Institute for college, which is about an hour away from where I went to high school. So I went to 4 years of military college and loved that as well. Quite the experience, different college experience. So I spent, 4 years in military high school, 4 years in military college, then straight into the Army. And I was an Army officer for about 7.5 years between active duty and reserves. And so from age 13 until I think I got out of the Army and I was late 20s. So it was a long experience.
Yeah. And I mean, so anytime I spend time with James, I probably drive him crazy because all I do is ask him questions about that experience because I just find it so interesting. I don't have any experience being in the military, and I always just want to learn more about what people go through and what type of training they get and how they think it has prepared them. So I pepper James with questions constantly about his time in the military just because I find it so interesting. But I mean, James, talk a little bit more about some of the specialized training you went through in the Army, because I mean, it was rigorous.
Yeah, I was a pretty, believe it or not, and this will blow your mind, Terri, I was a pretty shy person in high school and college. I really was. I was not an outgoing person at all.
Okay.
So I decided when I got into the Army, I was going to, it's the Army slogan of the 90s, be all you can be. And I was going to be all I could be. So I decided to go through as much training as humanly possible, do as much as crazy things, jumping out of airplanes, rappelling out of helicopters, anything I could possibly think of just to get me out of my shell. And I think I even took it to the extreme where by the time I ended up getting out of the Army, I was like just a wild man, crazy wild man. But I honestly attribute that to 7 years as an Army officer. I attribute, and look, and it wasn't always succeeding in the Army. Like if I failed a school, I went back and did it again. If I failed it again, I went back and did it again. So I made myself get out of my shell and turn into who I am now. And I think that I attribute just about all of that to the way I am now in my professional career in sales. So I would not be doing well in sales if I had not done that 7 years as an Army officer for sure.
Well, so that must, because you're in leadership and management roles in sales for the past several years, that must also be a tool that you can take in your coaching and training and development of people who report to you and work for you. Because I think one of the things that frustrates me about how salespeople are defined is that everyone thinks, oh, only certain types of people, can be in sales. Now, of course, there are things that might make you more immediately successful than other personality traits, but like, what's your perspective on that? How do you take what you learned from that training you put yourself through and forced yourself through to coaching your own team now?
And that, I'm glad you asked that, because that's actually probably for the first time in my professional career that's applicable now. So I am, I'm 48 years old, and now I'm starting to have, ladies and gentlemen that report to me, they're in their early to mid 20s, right?
Mhm.
So, and I started struggling with they failed once, and now they're like down in the dumps, right? They just want to stop, right? And I have to and my initial reaction is like, hey, get off the ground and go back to work, and let's go back after this, right?
Yep.
But then I have to, there's a different way to coach them. And my mindset, in the Army, if I failed and failed and failed, I just kept doing it till I eventually passed, or someone just got sick of me and just said I passed, right? So I try to take this younger generation that's, look, they're extremely talented. Like they have talents that I will never have. And I think, my generation in sales leadership needs to look at them and be like, okay, let's find those talents that we wish we had at their age, which is what I'm trying to do now. And there's a lot of them. And then I just give them guidance like, guys, you're going to fail. When you fail, we're going to get right back up. We're going to go do it again. So to me, the biggest trait taken away from the Army is when you fail, you're going to do it again. If you fail again, try again. And just trying to teach this younger generation that it's okay to fail. Like I think it took Thomas Edison 300 some odd times to invent the light bulb. Like, that's the type of mentality we have to have in sales, because you're going to get the door slammed in your face. And, if you're 22 years old, brand new to sales, they're like, oh God, I can't handle that. Well, yeah, you can, because the sun's going to come up tomorrow.
Right. Oh, it's brutal. I mean, it does take a lot of persistence and then just like an inner confidence that you can eventually figure it out. And really without coaching and somebody guiding you through that, I think it's hard to figure out on your own, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty challenging.
It is.
What are some of the like in terms of the younger generation and some of the talents that you see there? What are some of the strengths that you see that maybe weren't part of yours and my generation necessarily?
That's a good question. Two things. The first one that comes to mind is they're willing to think outside the box more than I was at their age. Like I think the sales world was much more regimented back when I got into it in 2004. Like it was, we're gonna give you a pager, and someone's gonna page you, and you're gonna pull over and you try to call your customer from a payphone, right? And then if you earn a cell phone, we'll give you one in a couple of years. And there was a like you had a sales book that was probably that thick, right?
Yeah.
Customer says no. Turn to page 642, paragraph 6, section 3 on how to respond. Right. That's basically what it was, because that's how we did it in the 70s and the 80s, and it's going to work in the 90s and 2000s. Right. Today's generation, like they are quick on their feet, and they're like, okay, well that didn't work. Let's just try this. I was thinking about this last night, James. Some of my guys and gals will text me in the middle of the night. James, I came up with this great idea last night. We got this new customer prospect in Salt Lake City, and I think he likes this. We're going to go after this. That's, and I'm like, I revert back to the, 4-inch manual. I'm like, I don't remember that page of the manual. But these kids are quick. Like they're quick to come up with solutions. And then the second thing I love about them is their aptitude for social media and social media marketing. Like I would have never had any kind of mind for that whatsoever.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you just set up two great areas that I want to go into more for sure. Because I do. So as a marketer and someone who, tends to first look at things from a marketing perspective, one thing that I'm always thinking about is how buying has changed, right? How has
Oh
decision
yeah,
making changed? It's way more complicated than it
very.
used to be. And I think that's one of the reasons that kind of book that you're referring to jokingly, that those moves won't always work anymore because the way people go about buying has changed
Yeah.
so dramatically. How have you seen, like, what would your comment be on that about how decision making and buying has
Oh
changed?
wow. Yeah, it is night and day. And this is my 21st year as a sales professional, and it has changed, I would say, over the last 3 years the most dramatically. So the buyers are younger now, right? So the buyers a lot of times are in their mid to late 20s, early 30s. They relate more to, okay, I need to some of their questions now, like I would always approach and say, let me download your pricing. Let's go over your pricing. No, just show me where I can click on a link and go to it. I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay, you would prefer. There's less, right? I'm the old generation. It's like, let's go have a steak. Let's go do 18 rounds of golf, and then we'll discuss how we're going to set your program up, right? And they're like, no, just give me a click. You can send me a coupon for Applebee's and just send me a link where I can click on to go look at my pricing, and then we'll call it the day. Like it's much more computer and web based now, the purchasing, and that's
Yeah,
something that I've had to wrap my head around because I'm still, to me, it's always lead with a relationship, which it still happens, right? I'm not
right.
saying it's dead, but the generation now that's buying, it's click on a link, download my pricing, let me look at my mins and maxes, I'll compare your pricing against someone else, and I'll call you back.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think in a perfect world, if your company has a great value proposition, you can blend that into the relationship and not just make it about price, right? You have to
Absolutely.
blend those two together for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still to this day I will always lead with relationship. To me, that's people buy off people that they like being around, or people buy off people they like. That's just, and
Yeah.
that I don't think that will ever change.
Yeah.
So as long as you can still have that relationship and give them all the web-based applications that they're looking for as as the secondary tier, then I think it's a win-win for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, let's talk about your market that you're selling into a little bit more too. So you primarily sell to construction companies and then contractors who are, well, hold on. Let me back up even further than that. Tell us who you work for now. Talk to me,
Oh,
introduce your company. Yeah. Cuz
yep.
I
So
guess
I
I
work.
glossed over that. I don't want to
No,
miss
no,
that.
that's
Yeah.
good. No, that's
Yeah.
fine. I work. The company I work. It's the MK Morse Company. They're based out of Canton, Ohio. It's a family-owned manufacturer of cutting tools. So we
Okay.
make anything from 100-foot, industrial bandsaw blades that are 3 inches thick to cut, steel beams, down to anything as a blade about that big, and everything in between. And we're a true manufacturer, so we import raw materials, and then we build it from the ground up. So it's a great company to work for. This is actually my second stint with them, so it felt good to come home. Cannot speak highly enough about them.
Yeah. So one thing that I love too as a marketer is first of all, go follow them on LinkedIn, the company, because they post the most awesome videos showing how their blades cut through different pieces of material. And it's pretty entertaining. I think
Yeah,
it's very entertaining. I think that's an awesome way to demo your products and kind of blend those tech tools and web app tools into the relationship building that you guys are doing. I love that strategy. I love that whole video series that you guys do.
absolutely,
Yeah, it's pretty
absolutely.
cool. Yeah.
It is
Do
cool.
you when you guys go to conferences and events, do you set up something similar to that in your booth? Do you guys do any of that
No,
live?
no. There's a couple industrial conferences like ISA
Huh?
that will allow larger stuff in the booth, but most of my conferences are with marketing or buying groups, and there may be some little scattered material on the table, but it's mainly, hey, thank you for your business. How are we getting to the next step? And then let's go have a steak. That's typically what the buying group conferences are. But there are some larger industrial, especially. So we're a worldwide manufacturer, so we have warehouses all across the world, Asia, Europe. So especially some conferences, some larger industrial conferences in Europe and Asia, we will have
Okay.
larger material out where we're doing demos and stuff. But in the States,
Okay.
not as much.
Yeah. And so who tell me a little bit about the team who works for you. How many different what do you call the job role of like the people who are in sales roles? Are they account managers or account
Yeah,
reps?
account managers, territory account
Okay.
managers. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we we have covered. So I manage North America. So I have Canada and the US. So we have account, and we use a hybrid approach. So we'll have direct employees, direct sales, and then we also have manufacturers rep agencies that work
Mhm.
for us. So they're basically 1099 employees that will, call our customers. And there's a mix throughout all of North America, but we have all 50 states covered and all 9 provinces in Canada.
Okay. And your job is to oversee that revenue growth for
Correct.
basically all of North America. Wow. Yeah,
Correct.
that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And with all the
It's a lot.
construction going on,
It's a
there's a
lot.
lot of
Yeah.
construction happening in the country right
Yes.
now, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the hot markets that you guys are looking to grow in right now, or that are growing?
I mean, some of the hot markets right now are, and it's kind of a shift that you see going on in the United States right now. There's a lot of people moving from the West Coast to the Southeast. There's a lot of people from the northern states, New York, Illinois, Ohio, moving down to the South. So, in all honesty, the hottest market in the U.S. right now is Nashville, Tennessee, hands down. That market is unbelievably hot. And then Florida will always the markets. Every major metropolitan area in Florida will continue to be hot. This is the way it is. The major markets in Texas, whether it's Dallas, Fort Worth, Galveston's hot. Austin's extremely hot. That's a big market for us. And then
Yeah.
you're going to have the holdover markets that will always just sheer volume. L.A., Chicago, New York, right? Those are just sheer volumes. But there are some areas that we're weaker in that, and you wouldn't think this is like something we would want to chase immediately, but like the Great Plains area, that's something that we're working on. Hawaii, believe it or not. I mean, we had almost no market share in Hawaii. That's been a hot market for us. We are currently in discussions with the largest distributor in the state of Alaska, working with them. So right now I'm more of let's fill in some of the missing pieces.
Yeah.
We're trying to maintain the hot markets, but we're also going after a couple of the little missing pieces.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like you probably have to recruit some people to be in those account manager roles. Or what kinds of things do you look for that would make for, like, if you were going to pitch to somebody who wanted to come to work for you, what would you tell them? Like, what are you
Well,
looking for and why should they work for you?
I would say, okay, first of all, what am I looking for? And I've
Yeah.
been this way since I started as a sales manager back in '04, but I don't care if you know the product. I really don't care because I could teach you the product, right? All I care about is what your drive is. What's your level of drive? Do you get up in the morning and are you ready to roll? Are you ready to rock? You're ready to crush it. Like domination 101. Like that's all I care about. And I could
Yep.
tell immediately within 30 minutes of talking to someone whether they have that mentality or not. And it doesn't matter the age. This person could be 18, this person could be 80, right? It doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't care. If you have that drive, I'll teach you everything else. You don't need to know my CRM system. You don't need to know my product. You don't even know how to make a basic sales call, right? I just need you to want to have drive, energy, enthusiasm, everything else I can teach you.
Yep.
And then as
Yeah.
far as
That's
the
awesome.
second part, why come work for us? It's the reason I came back to MK Morse. It's you're part of a family. I mean, we're 467 strong and it's all family. Like we're just one giant family. No matter what, I can call the president, I can call him on a Saturday and say, "Hey, I got an issue," or I have a personal problem. Can I talk to you? And
Yeah.
that goes from the president all the way down to the shop foreman and the shop leaders. Like it's all the way in between. It's a great organization to be part of. We make an amazing product made in America in the Rust Belt, and that's you can hang your hat on that too. It's something to be proud of.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I love that you knew the exact employee account too, because that actually, to me, that speaks volumes. You're not saying it's like 400 or 500 people. That the fact that you knew exactly how many employees kind of
Well,
says how
we
important
just
every
had a
single
meeting with
person is,
HR.
right?
We just had a
Yeah.
meeting with HR about
Well,
conducting
hey.
stay interviews, and I knew the number.
Okay. Well, then good. Kudos, because now you can tell your boss you were paying attention in that meeting.
Exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
That's hilarious. Well, so let's shift gears and talk about CRM. You just
Yep.
mentioned it a couple minutes ago. So using CRM when you're in a sales role is important, but also like a pain, right? Talk to me about how you prioritize that, how much importance you place on it. And I know, like, if you want to talk about the specific when you're using, great, that's not needed, but I think it's just the use of a CRM in general.
Yeah, no, I've no. So we currently use Salesforce, which is probably the largest CRM
Yeah.
currently being used in the U.S. Yeah, so I have used in some of the other previous companies I worked, we had to use Salesforce before, and it's Salesforce is a great tool. It really is. I think it's one of the better CRMs personally. The issue is, and you just stated it. How do I rate the importance level of my people, inputting information versus actually going out and making sales calls, right? How much time do I want them to spend in their hotel room or on their couch typing in all the information? So, and this is funny you bring this up. We meet weekly as a company with sales management to discuss, okay, what is that, what is that fine point?
Right.
So some of our senior leadership feels like it should be inputted every 32 seconds. Some of our sales leadership, it's like, well, we can wait to the end of the week. And it literally, as a company, we went back and forth for months over this, like how to properly what. So finally, I said, guys, just give me a deadline. Like every Monday at noon, my entire team needs to have their Salesforce or their CRM updated from the week prior. And as long as my team has an expectation, they know the deadline, they know what the expectation is, then they can hit it. Before it was, well, do it when you can. Well, what's your version of I can? Is it right now, or is it I can do it in a month? Right. So
Right.
yeah, this has been going on for quite a while right now. And I'm a firm believer in the tool and the fact that if someone leaves the company, right, they can come back after that person's gone, whoever the new hire, and we can go for this year and find all the information that we need. It's not, back in the old day when the sales manual, the person would leave, they turn in their truck, their car keys, and their book, and that, some written notes, and that's all we had. So now you're starting from scratch. With the CRM,
Right.
we can go back in and find all the missing information, the pertinent information. I don't like other organizations tend to use it as a tracking tool for salespeople, which I do not agree with. I mean, I know whether my people are working or not. I mean, first of all, I can open up and look at their numbers. That's a big
Yeah.
telltale sign there, right? But if it's used properly, it's a powerful tool. It is just, you have to find in your company the level point that, how much time do I spend inputting versus how much time am I actually making calls. And we just agreed on one time, one date every week, spend that day updating it from the prior week, and it seems to be working.
Oh, that is a really good solution. And the thing that I like is that you guys actually talked about it as a leadership team and got on the same page about it. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many companies we see that spend all the money to implement it, they roll it out, they go through all the training, and then it doesn't get
And,
used.
yeah, and then they dump it.
And then they dump it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
such a giant waste of like money and time.
Yes.
And I think it also speaks when that happens, it kind of reveals maybe a weakness in the leadership of that
Yeah.
company, right? Like
Yep.
if you're going to invest in it, let's make it
Yes.
work and let's figure out
Agreed.
how to make it successful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
So
tough.
yeah, I mean, we use it too, and it's hard. It's hard within our company, and we see that struggle in almost every single client that we work with. Is they all have. It doesn't matter if it's HubSpot, Salesforce, Sugar CM. It does not matter. Every
Yeah.
single company struggles with that. Do you guys have marketing campaigns and initiatives that generate leads and kind of activity into the Salesforce system that your salespeople follow up on?
No.
Or would you say you have target accounts that you're kind of going after? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in my professional selling career, it's basically split between two companies, and we both had CRMs. Neither one of the companies did we lean on the marketing department to provide any type of leads. What
Yeah.
we do, and this holds true today, is I will work with marketing. We usually meet. Well, we meet with the marketing team every week, but on a quarterly basis, we will list the targets for that quarter. So we just listed Q2's targets. We'll sit down with marketing just so marketing knows, okay, these are our targets. And then I put under each target, here's a list of what we need from the marketing department to make sure we hit that target. And we both hold ourselves equally responsible if we don't hit that target. So marketing holds
Okay.
themselves, I hold my team responsible, because it's really a collaboration, right? So there's no way we're closing a target with 10 different items that I need without marketing's help, right? And there's,
Yeah.
and marketing's not going out making sales calls, so they need us to, to do that portion of it. So yeah, we do a quarterly basis. It seems to be working pretty well. I mean, do we hit all of our targets? No. Does anyone? Probably not, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's another area where it sounds like you have a system worked out that you're following. And I mean, just like anything, if you're not measuring it, you can't improve it. if you're measuring it, you can start improving it. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. You've got a
Yep.
way to see, is this working? And if it's not, how do we adjust? How do we make it better and work better together? But really, the main thing is you are working together. You don't have a
Yes.
wall up between your two
No.
groups. Yeah.
No, and there's always been that adage in sales and marketing hate each other, and it's the
Yeah.
constant battle, right? That, in all honesty, look, I'm an open book. When I was previously with MK Morse, my first tenure, that's how it was, right?
Okay.
We had an adverse relationship between sales and marketing. Today is, and it's a lot, just first of all, it started with senior leadership saying we're not going to have that relationship, and then the people we put in place. We just all linked together immediately, and to the point now where we have a group text chain with marketing and sales on it, and we text each other all the time, like through the weekends. Like, there'll be pictures on there, like people, I'll look at my boat, or I went fishing, or here's me on a roller coaster. Like, that's how close the sales and marketing team are. And then marketing will put text, posts on there that, hey, what do you guys think of this new packaging? Or what do you think of this? What of this new art design? And you'll see the guys respond throughout. So it's been extremely helpful.
That is. It's almost like you're viewing that relationship between your teams the same as like a relationship with a client or a customer, right? You have to build that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No difference. Absolutely.
That's fun. What about, do you guys have you ever heard of the term sales enablement? Like the way that a marketing department might cross over with sales, there's kind of this crossover that a lot of companies call sales enablement. Do you guys have first of all, do you know that term? And if
I've
you don't,
never
it's
heard
fine.
that term.
Okay. So let me explain what I mean by it first.
Okay.
So the way that those roles are evolving, and you kind of hit on it at the beginning with like you looking for this younger generation of salespeople and account managers, they've got to know how to use social media,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
They have to know how to use that as a tool to build a relationship and to build their credibility. So sales enablement is, how do we cross over? Does marketing write those posts for a salesperson on LinkedIn? Does marketing write the content about the proficiency of our blades and why they're engineered and manufactured the way that they're manufactured? Like, how does that crossover happen? Because it's becoming much less clear what the role of a salesperson is and what the role of the marketing team is. That's all kind of blending together, right? Okay, I can tell you
Yes,
have
it
an
is.
answer to this.
No, it is. You're right.
Yeah,
No, it is.
yeah.
So we discussed this with the marketing department. So first of all, they came to the sales team and said, okay, how do we get more posts on social media, whether it be LinkedIn or whatever, right? So, and we responded, so our initial thought was, well, why aren't you putting more posts on LinkedIn?
Right.
So, and they're like, and their response is, well, where do we get the material from? Right? We get it.
Right.
The sales team's got to send us pictures of something, right? So what we do now is we will use that group text chain, and we have a person internally that handles all of our social media, and we will just send her pictures and a quick couple bullet write up, and then she'll post it. If it's something simple like that, now if it's something where we want to target a specific customer, then I'll have the sales team write it up and then have the marketing team approve it, just to make sure we didn't write some stupid sales guy stuff in there, right? So you always want to have someone double check, especially when sales guys are involved. So if it's tailored, if it's pinpointed at a customer, we'll usually do it on the sales side. But we can bombard our internal social media person all day long with pictures and a couple of, hey, post this, post this, post this, post this. So, and it seems to be working pretty well. And we don't really, there's never, not once have I seen an issue where we had an issue where someone was like, oh, we shouldn't have posted that. Or did someone approve that? Did someone check that? Where did that come from? We haven't had an issue with that yet. So it seems to be working.
I would think if people are working in your company culture and they know, they're going to know the line on what should be posted and what shouldn't be posted if you've trained them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's great. I feel like, so what you described at the beginning with the interaction of the marketer saying, hey, we need to post more. What do we do? And the salesperson saying, well, get to it then.
Yeah, right.
Post more.
Post more.
So do you know that in most of the companies I see, that's where things break down. They never make it past that conversation because people are like, well, we don't know what to do. We don't know what the next step should be. And you just have to get creative and start. So I think the way that you guys have gone about it is a huge thumbs up. It's a plus. I'm sure there are many more ways you could kind of expand upon that, but
Oh yeah.
right now, that you made it past where most companies get stuck is they get stuck in that frustration, or they try to make it something bigger right out of the gate instead of just starting with something simple. Like just get it going,
Just get it
right?
going.
Just get it
Absolutely.
going.
Yeah.
Progress over perfection.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I quantity now. So when I was my first time with MK Morse, it was social media. What's that? Right? Like we're not putting any posts on Facebook. I'm like, well, it's not just Facebook. So so now
Right.
we're at the point now where you'll probably see if anyone follows us on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn, so if anyone follows on LinkedIn, we'll see. I mean, there's probably a minimum 2 posts a day from our company, which is unbelievable compared to where we were 10 years ago,
Yeah, it's a
5 years
lot.
ago.
Do you
Yeah.
do you hear back from your customers or your prospects that they're noticing that? Like, do they
Every
see
now
that?
and then. Yeah. If I do a customer specific post, I'm always checking to see did the customer read it? Because if the customer reads it, then they're going to respond.
Yeah.
And what really gets me jazzed up is when I write something for one of our larger customers, and they have their own internal social media department, and they'll respond, "Oh, thanks, James. Hashtag love MK Morris. Love it." That's really cool.
Yeah.
That gets you jazzed up. Again, 5 years ago, it's like what? Like, what do I need that for? Right? But now it's like pretty cool.
No, it makes a big difference, and it ties back to what you said. The buyers are younger, right? The
Yes,
buyers are 20s,
absolutely.
30s, probably into their 40s, but like anywhere in that age range, they grew up on the internet. They're used to using it. They're
Yes,
used to using that as a tool to engage, and they're not just meeting it on the golf course or having a steak. Like
right.
that's definitely important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I agree with you. Like that'll never stop being important. It's how
No.
these things blend together and how they evolve. And using social media to connect is really pretty important. It has to happen.
Yes, it has to happen. And
Yeah.
I was not a huge advocate of it when I first got into this profession, but now I'm a gigantic advocate of it. I think it's immensely important, especially like you said, as the buyers get younger, as our customers get younger, they expect to see more stuff like that. And it's kind of
Yeah.
fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've talked about maybe some of the challenges or roadblocks you've had to get through when it comes to sales and marketing. Have you run into other challenges that have made it hard to get from like point A to point B, whatever you're trying to accomplish? We kind of talked about CRM. We talked about how sales and marketing interact. Are there other challenges you've run into that have, like in your mind, maybe held back your ability to sell or for your team to be effective?
Yeah, no, what my philosophy is communication. And I know that's probably shocking to you, right? Right. So if there's ever an issue like with marketing, and they're not issues, there's just something pops up. As
Yeah.
opposed to writing emails and text, like I can call the head of marketing, our marketing director, and say, look, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Let's bounce it. And I'm not always right, right? And they're not always right. So if we can find some kind of middle ground, and I don't know if this is the case in a lot of companies, but our marketing department also leads up our product development department. So our product development guys report to the marketing people. And in all honesty, I lean them, it's probably like 70-30. I lean on them 70% of the time for product development. And it's, product testing, new product ideas, packaging, artwork, pricing, promotions, launch packets, training. Like I lean
Yeah.
on them for that probably 70% of the time. And they're impeccable when it comes to that. Like they're just geniuses. And I think they work on it like 24/7. So, the other 30% of the time and we're not really a promotion based company. Like we're kind of getting away from
Yeah.
that. I'm not a firm believer. Like sending out promotions tends to cause buying habits, right? And I don't want to cause buying habits. I don't want people to wait for promotions for marketing to buy, because then you're comping yourself at the end of every quarter. Well, we had a promo last quarter. How are we going to comp against that? Like I don't want my sales team to have that mentality, and I don't want my buyers to have that mentality. I want them to
Right.
buy when they need to. So we really lean on new product, great pricing, and incredible availability. And so that's
Right.
why I lean on our marketing department probably 70% of the time on as far as just looking at them as a product team.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty common with manufacturing companies is to and I think the opportunity as digital marketing becomes a more important part of building relationships with customers is not just confining the marketing team to 70% product marketing, it's like, how do we add on to that and think about like other ways the marketing team can help us build relationships online? Because people, you have to build a relationship with them in person, but they're also going to their phone and going to their computer and searching.
100%.
They're not just
Yep.
thinking like, this is the only people we buy from, right? Like,
Correct.
how do we compare this against other options and make sure that we're still getting the best value all the time? They're going to be out there further doing research and looking to make sure that they're getting the best deal they can get for
absolutely.
themselves.
I mean, first, if I meet a customer for the first time, first they're going to do is look at our website. That's the very first thing they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going to see what kind of products we offer. And then the second thing is, okay, well, let's discuss pricing, availability, so on and so on. So, but yeah, I mean, that if I have never met anyone, I hand them their business card, they're not looking at my name. They're looking to see my website is, and they want to go click on it fast as possible.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times I bet that happens when you're sitting there in their office.
Oh,
with them,
yeah.
or on site with them. And they're looking at it and beating you up about it or saying whatever they're going to say about it. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Okay. Then I have fun questions left. So my first question is, what is your favorite trip you've ever taken?
Wow. Favorite trip. Wow.
To Fruita, Colorado.
I was gonna say probably recently, as far as the timeline, like I'd say right out of the jump,
so much.
The 3 weeks we did in Fruita were amazing. I mean, they were
so fun,
awesome. I mean, to sit in the camper and work all day, and then come out of the camper and go have a cocktail at your counter.
Yes,
and just vent on how the day went. Like, you can't beat that. That
was pretty fun. That was
was awesome.
By the way, I guess for our listeners, we should say James and our family.
Yes.
We had our spouses involved in this.
Yep.
And we had an awesome time. That makes me really happy to hear that was one of your favorite trips.
It was a blast. Yeah.
So much fun.
Sandy and I still talk about it to this day. It was awesome.
Next question. I know how much you love music. You're going to have so much fun with this one.
Uh-oh.
If there's any musical artist or group, dead or alive, that you could see, who would it be?
Wow. Any group. Honestly, I think Lone Star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Lone Star. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about what are the songs that I'm in the shower in the car and I'm like singing to myself. Like, it's a lot of Lone Star.
So you spent some time in Texas. It's coming out now.
It is
Your
coming
El Paso
out,
days are coming
out. That's right, exactly. And
now
we're in Tennessee, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
What's like a book that you find yourself recommending to people? It might be the people that work for you. It could be something that's just for personal enjoyment. Like, do you find a book that you recommend?
Are you familiar with Bill O'Reilly?
Yeah.
Okay. So Bill O'Reilly, most people don't know, they see him as a talking head on, whatever news channel, usually Fox News, but he's also a historian, and he has a series. It's called Killing Whoever, right? So killing Reagan, killing Kennedy, killing Lincoln, right? That series is the best series I've ever read in my entire life. I would highly recommend. I think, honestly, the best one was probably Killing Lincoln. And it's not about, going to kill Abraham Lincoln. It's the background behind it and the amount of research his team does and the way he writes it is, and killing Reagan sounds weird because, no one killed Reagan. I mean, but it's about, how at the end of his term, he, sort of showed signs of dementia and so on and so on. But that series as a whole is absolutely incredible, and I would recommend it to anyone.
It sounds pretty interesting. So does he weave in like the history of what was going on?
Oh, yeah.
They were in office
they're extremely well done, and they're quick reads too. I'd say they're 200 pages maybe. Yeah, they're not long.
Oh man, Ralph would love that.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Tell him about that. Yeah. And then my last question is, what is the best job you've ever had?
Oh wow. It would be a tie between being a brand new platoon leader in the Army as a brand new second lieutenant, because you are 21 years old and you're in charge of 33 men, half of them being in their mid-30s. Wow. And you have to act like you know what you're doing. And that was a fun job because I learned a lot and it's just fun. And second would be the job I'm in now. Like, I feel like I get to mentor and train and help people when they need it. My sales team, we have a pretty significant large sales team. So working with them, traveling out to work with them is probably my favorite thing. Like, getting off the airplane, they're picking me up and we have a whole agenda. We know what we're doing, and if we win, we're high-fiving and hugs, and it's very rewarding. And if we lose, then we still go have a steak and play 18 holes, and we still figure out a way to go back and win.
Yeah, that goes back to what you said at the beginning. You gotta get back up.
That's right.
Pick yourself up and go after it again.
Never take no. I tell my team every day, ABC, always be closing. And if you don't hit the C, then go back. You start all over.
Persistence.
Persistence is key.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, James. I really appreciate your time. I think you talked about a lot of things that I think a lot of other people in sales leadership roles are going to be able to relate to, and hopefully take something away from the ways that you've been able to solve and maneuver different challenges you've run into. So thank you for sharing everything and being open. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Terri. I've been excited all week. This is like the highlight of my week for sure.
Good. All right. Well, take care. And, oh, wait, one final thing. If somebody wanted to follow you or get in touch with you, what would you recommend they do?
I'm on LinkedIn, just James Reid, REID, under MK Morse on LinkedIn. So that's probably the easiest way.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, James. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Terri. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Please be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast channel and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or visit our website at marketingrefresh.com.